the massage therapists, the yoga practitioners, all of those practitioners who are considered quote-unquote allied, the practitioners who actually develop the healthcare plans, the health coaches who help the patients. Because typically in a doctor's office, let's face it, the way healthcare is set up right now, you don't see a doctor for more than 7 minutes. Behavior change does not occur within 7 minutes. In fact, you need at least 10 visits. And when I say visits, I'm not talking 7 minutes. I'm talking full-fledged hour, hour and a half to 2-hour visits with the patient to affect change. It's not going to happen in 7 minutes or even in one hour visit. So we're talking about working with consumers, working with patients to integrate several modalities to help them in their journey toward wellness.
Yeah, and you say you use it as part of a toolbox. When we talk about the toolbox that practitioners have to use with their patients, how do they bring in marijuana to that? How can it help people control symptoms or help them with a healthy lifestyle? Okay, so cannabis can really help people achieve wellness because cannabis has actually been indicated in numerous health conditions, from, the well-known glaucoma to cancer, and I'm not just talking about for cancer symptoms, but also for tumor reduction. New research is revealing possible action in bone health and also diabetes, clearly from, as I mentioned, or as we talked about earlier, on insomnia, pain relief, and anxiety, which are probably the 3 top reasons why people use cannabis, even if people are using cannabis, quote-unquote, for adult use or recreationally. People are self-medicating, whether they realize it or not. So there are so many different reasons why cannabis is appropriate. One of the ones that's probably closest for me is the use of cannabis for seizure disorders. I think unless you've been living under a rock, everybody knows, I believe, that cannabis is very appropriate for children in particular who have seizure disorders. One of the problems with this is that many physicians wait until these children have tried numerous pharmaceuticals, and then they go to cannabis. And this is actually the same thing that happens with food. I refer to in my practice as food as medicine. The kitchen is actually medicine. But yet food is often the last things people go to for healing. And cannabis is a plant, and it's an herb, same type of thing. So there's a little bit of a disconnect in our healthcare system on how we need to heal, and that the body has an innate healing mechanism, and that nature has provided the mechanisms to aid that healing. Cannabis is one of those mechanisms. It's interesting that cannabis you can use it for so many different things. I think on MJ Wellness we have over 100 different things that people say it can help with. I always wonder if it's the food or the lifestyle or cannabis. Do you think cannabis is kind of as big of a cure as people are claiming?
Well, that's a great question, Ryan. I think that, yes, I would not necessarily refer to cannabis as, for instance, a panacea, because I don't think anything is a panacea. But the number of studies in which cannabis has been implicated as therapeutic are plentiful. And the number of various conditions are, as you said, it's really 100 plus, all over the map in various conditions. And the primary reason for that is the endocannabinoid system, which we don't need to go into now. But what I can say about the application is I think we're going to be finding more and more, because the studies that can be done, of course, are limited because cannabis is, sadly, a Schedule I drug. So the number of people who can get cannabis to study it in the U.S. is far and few between. And many of those studies, of course, the origin is in Israel, which is sort of like ground zero for studies on medical marijuana.
Yeah.
So I think the answer is panacea, no, because I don't think anything is a panacea, but the application is vast, absolutely vast. And I think we will see in years to come many more indications. And I certainly didn't think in my lifetime that we'd be where we are now with cannabis. I see that it's all good.
Well, I'll tell you what, we need to take a break, but when we come back, we'll talk more with our guest, Laura Logano.
We will be right back once you get to know our sponsors.
Dr. Dabber, hurry! Its temperature is shooting past 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's burning up.
I'm afraid for this little guy, it's just too late.
What caused the problem?
Only Dr. Dabber can maintain the perfect temperature for a smooth-tasting, slower burn. This standard vaporizer lost all of its health benefits, sending it up in smoke.
So you're telling me that most vapor pens burn so hot they produce smoke, not vapor?
Correct. Keep away from those standard vaporizer pens and turn to Dr. Dabber. Doctor's orders.
Less heat, more flavor.
MJWellness.com, the largest medical marijuana community in the world. Connect with thousands of patients, doctors, industry leaders, and businesses through shared personal experiences along our worldwide network. Discover new therapies and benefits with content tailored to you. Come grow your network on MJWellness.com. You're not alone. Your wellness matters. Learn, live, and thrive. Check out MJWellness.com today.
Educator, author, and advocate Dr. Mitch Earlywine is here to tackle the burning issues.
And I'm here to clear up the myths about cannabis and burn them away with science.
CannabisRadio.com presents a no-holds-barred platform that seeks to redefine and revolutionize the entire scope of the cannabis culture while opening the door for more to join the cannabis crusade.
Dr. Kevin Hill.
You can't ignore the fact that, like alcohol, most people who use don't have a problem. So I think that you need to think about policy in that way while educating people properly about marijuana. I think that's the way to go.
Burning Issues, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Just Say No, spelled K-N-O-W, is back with more conversation about curing and healing with cannabis, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back to Just Say No. I'm Ryan Hunt from MJWellness.com. We've been discussing Healthy Choices Unlimited with Laura Logano. And Laura, it sounds like you've had a lot of work with children, and that, I have 2 children, and I want to veer maybe a little bit from marijuana since we have you and talk just about children's health and nutrition. I'm seriously struggling with feeding my children non-kid foods, and it wasn't until I read a little bit about you that I realized, there are non-kid foods out there. Like half of the stuff, or most of the stuff I feed them says for kids, Cliff Bar, for kids, that I feed my children. What happened? When did we start feeding kids kid food and making ourselves separate meals?
That is a great question. I know that when I was a kid, there was no such thing as a kid menu. It just wasn't there. And most parents, as my mother would say, I am not a short order cook and the kitchen is closed. Those were 2 of her very famous sayings. And I think that they were 2 pretty good things. Why do we feed kids different menus? Why, when you go into a restaurant, are there the kids menu? I have no clue why that why that is. I think that we have perhaps gone from a parent-centric society where if your father were playing golf on Sunday and your mother was running a fundraiser, you went along. The kids went along. And the pendulum has swung to a kid-centric society where we are, as parents, doing whatever the kids want. And with that, of course, have come, I think, other things, as in the kids' menu. I have actually had people over to my home who are restaurant owners. Now, you would think as a restaurant owner, and this is a fine restaurant owner, that these particular children would be eating what's served at the restaurant, which is like varied foods, great menu. That was a bad assumption on my part. These children did not want to eat what I was serving, which was, in my opinion, a great meal. And the parents asked if they could have cereal for dinner. I was shocked. But this is very common.
Yes, I am super guilty of doing that myself. I feel like half the time I'm just, what do you want to eat? I'll make you whatever you want to eat. Just eat, just eat. How do you change children's behavior? I mean, I know it's our responsibility as parents to do it. What has been your experience? How do you get kids to eat adult food? I guess if we're going to call it that.
Okay, well, how do you get them to eat real food.
Real food, yeah, okay.
Okay. So I would say that the first thing you have to do as parents have to decide what food they're going to bring into the house. So if you don't want your children to eat certain foods, don't bring it into the house. That's the first thing. Allow the children to decide how much they're going to eat, but you decide when they're going to eat. So if you would like to have, breakfast, lunch, and dinner with snacks, then that's what it is. Because let's say if we get to the point where we say this is what you're having for dinner, but then your child chooses not to eat the dinner, and now your little baby, they're usually not babies because they're talking by this point, say, I'm hungry, and then you let your kid get up to have a bowl of cereal or a banana or a piece of pizza, whatever it is. Clearly they're very smart, and they know that they can do that every night. So I think it has to probably be a little bit of tough love and a little bit of just common sense, and don't bring the food into the house and don't offer it at all. And you sort of have to seem like you're running a tight ship at that point. But believe me, they're not going to starve, and they will eventually eat the food that you're presenting to them.
What do you make your children for breakfast? Been making waffles and these things that I feel like maybe I should just hand them a cup of yogurt or something in the morning. But I'm packing the lunch, I'm making them breakfast, and I'm just putting things in there I know that they'll eat. And they're really proud when they finish their lunch and they tell me at the end of the day. But what would you recommend as like a healthy start for a kid?
Well, first of all, kids definitely need to have breakfast before they go to school. Those little bodies really churn up a lot of energy, and those brains are working every day at school. So that you definitely want to send them out with breakfast, and that breakfast really should be a protein food with fat, not a high carbohydrate food. So not cereal, not waffles, not pancakes, not bagels, not toast. So good old-fashioned eggs, and when I say eggs, I mean the whole egg, not the white, the entire egg, and a high-quality, nitrite-free bacon. That is a great way to start the day. Or a sausage that's also nitrite-free. If you can find something that is free of antibiotics, grass-fed, etc., that's even better. That's a great way to start the day. Having dinner for breakfast, too. So if you've made roasted chicken the night before, a chicken leg, kids love those drum bones. That's a great way to start. And again, with a good quality fat, whether it's a grass-fed butter or coconut oil used in the cooking. And, of course, any type of vegetable would be great, too. So, sort of getting away from any of the more Americanized versions of what breakfast, may be.
Yeah, sure. Do you think that what we feed our children is changing kind of the guts and the bacteria inside them? I just kind of wonder what the long-term effects of what we're feeding our kids are as they get older.
Absolutely. Of course, we'll be hearing more and more about that. That's referred to as the microbiome, which is your whole community of bacteria and everything that goes with it in your gastrointestinal system and other areas of your body. And that microbiome definitely directs health. The question is, of course, with the microbiome, we have 10 times more microbiome bacteria cells than we do human cells. So the question is, who is hosting whom? Is it changing? Yes. But it can also change very quickly. So the microbiome, your microbiome, my microbiome might be changing during this interview because stress and what you're doing can change your microbiome. The weather, what you take in, eating, it really does change very dramatically. So changing microbiome to change health does not need to seem like such an ordeal. But are we changing that in our children? Absolutely. Because high carbohydrate diets are also leading to microbiome that are high in yeast because yeast love that sugar.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Laura, we need to take a break. But when we come back, let's continue talking a little bit about our kids and then maybe some other healthy alternatives that we can provide them, whether it's, through hemp oil or cannabis for those kids who need it.
We will be right back once you get to know our sponsors.
Ganjapreneur.com, your guide to the cannabis business world. Ganjapreneur.com is a comprehensive resource for cannabis professionals and entrepreneurs.